So now we begin our work with the quadratic formula. And the quadratic formula can be used to solve any quadratic. So we've used the factoring method, we've used the square roots method, we've used where we just tee it up because it's been given to us in the intercept method. And typically those are the ones we want to use because they're a little easier once we understand which ones are going to work for which problem. But any of them will work with the quadratic formula. It's just a little busy and a little messy when you're first getting started working. So important information to keep in mind. The equation must be equal to 0. So you have to make sure that you get everything moved and you put it back into standard form. You need it in ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0. We're going to identify each of those a, b, and c terms. We're going to substitute them into this formula, and then we're going to solve. The biggest part that is still new to us, something that we haven't practiced very often, is that plus or minus sign. So that plus or minus sign is saying that when we get to this point, I have to do two different equations, one that has addition in it and one that has subtraction in it. Because remember, most of our quadratic formula, or most of our quadratics in general, have two solutions. So again, solutions means the same thing as roots, which means the same thing as zeros, which means the exact same thing as x-intercepts. So when we are factoring, finding using the square root method or the quadratic formula, all we're really looking for is where does this parabola cross the x-axis? That's all we want to know. What is the x-intercept for this particular equation? So we're going to start here. Let me kind of zoom in here. All right. First of all, I went ahead and typed in the equation because it's long and you don't have it memorized by any means. And it is on your EOC reference sheet. So good news. It's something that will be provided when you're taking your EOC. We've been given the equation x squared minus 6x plus 5 equals 0. Good news again, it's already in standard form, so we're ready to get started. The first thing we want to do is figure out what our terms equal. So I'm going to start here. The coefficient of the A is 1, so I have that. The coefficient of B is -6, and the C is a +5. And I'm just going to use that to substitute into the formula. So x equals negative whatever B is, which is -6, plus or minus the square root over B, so -6 squared, minus 4 times the A, which is 1, and times the C, which is 5. Get that radical sign all the way over. And this is a fraction over 2 times A, and 2 times A, well, 2 times 1. We have it set up. Now we're just going to follow the order of operations and go a little step at a time. So the first thing I'm going to do is I got this negative times this -6, so that's +6. I'm just going to get that done. Plus or minus. I'm going to look underneath this radical sign, which acts as grouping symbols, and see what I can simplify first. -6 squared, 36. And then I have subtract 4 times 1 times 5, so 4 times 5 is 20. I'm still all over 2 times 1, which is 2. So we're working our way down, one step at a time. I'm going to go ahead and keep working. I have x equals 6 plus or minus 36 subtract 20 is 16. And we're still over 2. Now remember when we were solving earlier, I told you that when we take the square root of 16, we want plus or minus. We're not undoing anything here, so we just want to find what the square root of 16 is. And the square root of 16 is 4. So when I write this, I'm going to rewrite it, breaking it into sections. So watch. I'm going to say x equals 6 plus the square root of 16 is 4 over 2, and x equals 6 minus 4 over 2. And then I'm going to simplify each one of those. 6 plus 4 is 10, so that would be 10 over 2. And what is 10 over 2? Well, 10 over 2 is 5. So one solution is x equals 5. In my next, I have 6 subtract 4, which is 2, and I have 2 over 2. What's 2 divided by 2? Well, my second solution is x equals 1. So the two solutions I have is x equals 5 and x equals 1. So take your time when you're working through each one of these.